Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a chat with Matt. The audio is going to be off today because I stupidly forgot the fucking interface. But hey, we're going to roll with the punches today. I'm joined with Vlad. How do you pronounce your last name? Because I'm terrible with
Skokovich.
Skokovich?
Skokovich.
Skokovich. Okay, that's what I guessed earlier and I got it right.
That's okay.
So how you doing, man?
I'm okay. There's nothing much to do these days, unfortunately, and just waiting this out like everybody else.
Yeah. What have you been up to during this time of pause, if you will?
Well, we used to have here at the Silver Door. We used to have online shows, streaming. Had about 7-8 shows, but then the total lockdown hit, so that became illegal.
Yeah.
So we had to stop.
Yeah, you guys moved to this location, you mentioned like right around the beginning of New Year's 2020.
2020 was the opening night here, New Year's Eve.
Yeah. And where were you guys located before?
Sorry?
Where were you located before?
Oh, Spadina College.
Spadina College. Okay. Wait, what prompted the move here? Because I'm trying to remember.
Well, they destroyed the building and built a condo, of course.
Oh, yes, right. A part of that whole trend.
Yeah.
So how long have you been involved with Silver Dollar? Actually, let's learn a bit more about you. How long have you been involved in the music industry, live sound kind of stuff?
Well, I came from former Yugoslavia in '94 during the war there, but I was involved as a musician back there since age 16. Did some pretty cool shows back there as a kid.
Yeah. But
then I moved here. I was 25 years old. And as a new immigrant, I worked in a factory for a year, and nothing wrong with it, but I realized that I wanted something, go back to music in my life. And I went to Trebas Institute for sound engineering that, I already knew from being a musician so many years, but I needed a little, refresher course and, how everything really works.
Yeah.
And it kind of worked out for me. Started doing corporate sound '96, and rock and roll started with rock and roll music and raves. Started with the Comfort Zone Silver Dollar in 2000.
Okay, so 2000. So we're just past the 20-year mark. I'm curious about the difference between the cultural difference between the music scene from where you're from versus the Canadian scene.
Not much. Yugoslavia was a socialist country, but was never part of the Eastern Bloc.
Yeah.
And so we were open to Western culture. Started from Coca-Cola factory in Sarajevo to rock and roll, right? Since the 50s. So scene was really good back there. The clubs were good. So there was not much difference really. I mean, here is much more on a much bigger scale.
Yeah.
The Sarajevo is just the size of Hamilton, right?
Yeah.
So the scene was small, and other cities are like that too. But here I found the scene was fantastic. Really, like mixing so many bands for so many years, it was really like quality was really high. At all times, like it would be one batch a month maybe.
Yeah. So, well, there's always bad shows.
Yeah, but I'm still impressed by the Canadian scene, because when I came, it was the first thing that I checked. What's the music like here? Then I discovered Tragically Hip, right? I was like, these guys are pretty cool, right? I was mixing the Tragically Hip band in some other club, Tragically Hip cover band.
Yep.
And they go, okay, you as somebody who came here, did you hear of Hep before? And I'm like, no. He goes, are they really good, or we just love them because they can hear? They're good. Man. I was watching Much Music, didn't know anything, my first month here. Yeah. And what was the song? Locked in the trunk of the car.
Oh yeah.
I was like, this is weird. This is good weird, right?
Yeah.
So I scanned, even before I got involved with the scene, I scanned what was going on.
Yeah, the Hip have a very interesting story because they are so beloved in Canada, but they never ventured that far. They did the SNL performance back in the 90s.
Yeah, I've seen that.
Yeah, and then, but they never progressed further than that. And I wonder what it was. When you listened to the hip for the first time, was that what you recognized as a Canadian kind of sound, or was there something kind of similar sound-wise back home?
It was like original, that song in particular, it sounded original to me, the lyrics. And the music was like, rhythm section was really good, which I like. And it was just sounded good. It was intriguing, like from a bunch of the videos that they played that day, I remember that name, right? So that's how I noticed them. But also many other bands that we never heard, like Headstones, and of course the older bands we knew back there, like Guess Who was hugely huge.
Really?
Guess Who?
Yeah. Why was the Guess Who bigger?
Somebody liked them on the radio, I guess. I remember as a kid, all these songs were playing like non-stop, right? Just listening to radio in the background. Neil Young, of course, he's Canadian still. A couple more bands I can remember.
So, you come here, you go to Travis, you get more involved in the scene. Were you always involved with just Silver Dollar, or were there other rooms that you...
Oh, there were other places because this was everything I do. It was sound for 20 years. It was a mod club, opera house, a couple more clubs I can remember. But yeah, I was basically freelancing. I've done lots of corporate shows, politicians, lots of famous people. It was pretty cool. But then, of course, everything stopped a year ago, so I'm still trying to adjust.
For sure. I would say, looking back, what shows do you remember fondly in terms of either the show was that great or just the experience you had with the artist or the person that you were working with?
The Zubons from Japan always come first because they're very nice people. They come to, the first time I mixed them in 2003, I think. There's been many shows since then. But they showed up, they're really like super timid Japanese, people, very nice. And then they got on stage and turned into animals. It's like, what's going on here? And it's energy. I find the energy to be the most important thing in music, any music, especially rock and roll. These guys are just blow you away.
Yeah, being in the position you're in, you get to see a lot of bands, and they're different levels of energy, and that's what I think the unique thing about musicians is. A lot of them come in very timid, very to themselves or quiet, or they're they're friendly.
Alex Lifeson is like that.
Yeah, he definitely is. He's very polite off stage. When you get into that flow state, you get on stage and you just express yourself.
You just express yourself for real.
It truly is amazing. Like, what's been the most common theme that you've seen amongst bands that have been successful that you've worked with? Is it the energy, or is there something else?
It's the energy. It's been into it. Sometimes, like the music wasn't even being played perfectly, but the energy and the feel, I found that to be the most important thing. Even if you miss a chord or drummer, it's like I've seen bands that are like that, but they still have a great show. If the band enjoys themselves on the stage, then that joy is going to spread, right? If they're not into it, no matter how perfect you play, nobody else is going to be.
Well, I think it's an understanding, and I think you absolutely nailed it on the head there. With an audience is a lot smarter than people think when they go on stage, because they recognize the authenticity of someone being into something, showing the energy, showing the passion towards it, and if it doesn't come across, it's not going to sell no matter how great your songs are, because the live performance is such a massive aspect of that.
Yes. And it's not just playing note per note perfect. I've seen bands that play note per note, but they were either scared or something didn't translate, and people just leave.
Yeah, they can get into their own head so much and not be in the moment. And I think that's something that a lot of young musicians, especially young musicians that listen to this podcast, really need to take away is you just need to have fun with it. What was an example I just heard the other day? Mr. Jones by Counting Crows.
Okay.
If you ever saw the music video for
Yeah,
that song.
my first year in Canada, that was the song, 94.
Yes, exactly. And dancing in the apartment and just the passion he had in the video is just being free and being open and exploring yourself as an artist. I think people really need to recognize. And what do you think the landscape is going to look like once people come back in for shows? Because right now there's a mix of people between either working on their craft and trying to figure themselves out, or that are just dying to get back out on a stage at a club like this or any club and putting themselves out there.
I hope and I think it's going to be big because everybody's like choosing to get back to the audience, the bands, some clubs, including us, who are doing streaming shows. I think it's a good band-aid, but it's not the real thing.
Yeah.
It's like TV production, TV producing the band. It's not a real show, there's no reaction, there's no energy going into the floor and the stage. And as much as bands were good here, did shows, awesome shows, they all told me, everybody, each band told me, it's so weird, you finish the song, and two of us, no, that's not it.
No, it's flat.
There's no feedback.
Yeah, it's very flat, and the Band-Aid is definitely it's a methadone effect, if you will, with live shows and live streaming, because like it's good for right now, and
It's awesome.
yeah, it's awesome for right now because it's good that, and I'm sure you've definitely gone on this work in this industry as long as you have. The industry is usually behind in terms of like technology or adapting to whatever's going on in the world. So it's good to see that the industry is evolving and trying to catch up. But it does fall very flat, and a lot of music fans don't want to appreciate the live stream because watching something at home versus being there in person, the energy's different, the culture's different.
It's different. It's like watching a DVD of a show, right? It's okay, but it's not like being in a show. And I know people that I would call everybody, hey, tune in, right? I'll give you a link, just tune in, watch the show. I'm like, it's not interested, right? Because I want to be there, to be part of the show. On the other hand, there's people that love it. You know, this is awesome. I don't have to drive downtown. You know, I can drink. I can do whatever I want. So I think in the future it'll be a mixture of, I think streaming is here to stay.
Yeah, what do you think is going to be like a format for that? Because based on industry speculation as of now, like for the Canadian industry, we're about 10, 11 weeks on average behind the US. So it's estimated as of now that venues could be at like a 75% capacity in October, November, you know, if everything goes well, which based on the past year and a half, you know better than anything, that means nothing. But like, is it going to be a hybrid approach because the audiences are going to be so split?
It will be a hybrid approach for sure. I'm sure about it. I was just talking to the club owner here. And it's a big opportunity. Let's say you have fans in Hamilton. They don't want to drive and drink and then drink and drive. Of course, you don't want to do that. Why not just stay at home? You just connect your computer to a nice stereo, and it's pretty good. So it's here to stay. It will be live, but then that live show will be broadcast on Eventbrite or one of those platforms. But also, I think touring, I don't think it will happen a lot because I think Metallica did a show, one-off, right? And the whole world can watch.
Yeah, and that's kind of the other side of the coin with live streaming that I think a lot of companies are trying to figure out. It's when you're doing something online, you can have the opportunity to expose it to a worldwide audience.
Everybody, yeah.
But then to go on tour and go to those markets, be like, some people are going to be like, well, I just watched your stream, why am I going to come pay see you in person because I just saw you online?
It'll be 50-50, I think, about people that still want to do the shows
Mhm.
and people that still want to stay at home. But they will have the option.
Vlad, I kind of want to talk to you about your thoughts on how, let's start more locally. How do you think Toronto's responded to the current crisis that's been going on with music venues?
Stunned. Because even online, I think it was Elmo Campbell did a few shows. We did maybe 7, 8. Horseshoe. I think the Horseshoe is not the only one standing.
Yeah.
Because just did a show last week, I think. But I think everybody's still stunned. They don't know where the future is. When this will stop, and then what to do after that. How many people can afford to pay rent for the clubs? Crazy prices.
Well, I think that the economic impact is something that a lot of people aren't thinking about because, like you mentioned in the first part, it is going to be like a 50-50 kind of audience. But where are the sacrifices going to be made in terms of payment, in terms of either club fees or paying an artist whatever rate they're going to pay? If they're going to be a reduced rate, how are tickets going to be more expensive? And if tickets are going to be more expensive, the people that are having issues paying rent or paying whatever debts they owe, how are they going to be able to come out and support shows if they can't afford it?
I think for the bands it will be paid, actually will be better, with the online and the door. For clubs, as far as I've seen, the most money's come from the bar.
Yep.
From alcohols. Right? So if it's like 50%, 75%, they might be okay, but after experiencing nothing for a year now, there's going to be more. They're going to be happy to just to make money, start making money again, right?
Yeah, and that's the thing that a lot of people don't realize with venues is a lot of the income does come from the bar sales and
Yes.
trying to get at least like a certain amount per head, depending. And that rate's going to be changed because there's going to be less people in the venues. The bar hopefully is going to be able to receive more money from the attendees because there's only less people, which means they have to try and serve more per head. But depending on the culture of it, and do you think that the people are gonna rush out to the shows, kind of in a live renaissance? Because I don't know if you guys caught on to this in Toronto or anything like that, but like something I've saw in the past few years before all this kind of went down, the support for live shows kind of like not slummed down, but plateaued almost. Like it's been the same people coming. There's no growth. There's no progression. It's kind of just the same people are coming out. Do you think there's going to be some sort of demand for people like, because obviously you know what the dead days of the week are. Like, are those people going to come out to those dead day shows?
There's people that used to come and were passionate about music, right? The numbers, I don't know how the numbers will be, but if you book the band that's like a little bigger, people come, and people pay, they don't even mind paying, right? But it will be also for the bars, they will get the cut from the streaming, making up for the maybe lack of people. People will be still scared, that's possible too, to come and be in a crowded room.
Yeah, and that's an interesting thing with the live tickets that's still trying to be figured out. Because like you said earlier, a lot of people still don't know where this is going to go and how it's going to work. And especially like when Ticketmaster came out with that whole noise of, oh, if you cancel, you have to pay us this amount of money, or we're not covering this,
They
that.
were getting too comfortable.
Yeah, they were trying to adjust to something, I think, where they didn't understand what was happening. And they were trying to create a safety net in order to kind of sustain themselves in a way where once shows come back that they're not going to be totally fucked over.
Yeah.
And with the way the Toronto scene is now and all the clubs that have closed and seeing how the clubs are going to adapt, it's going to be a challenge to kind of divvy up those things, whether it's live ticket percentages online, in person, how people are going to pay rent and stuff like that.
Well, it's going to be trial and error, right?
Yeah, and the other thing is also because I don't know how involved you are with the booking of the actual calendar for. How involved are you booking the calendar for like this place, for example?
I just started booking all the streaming shows.
All the streaming shows. Okay.
So I got a little bit of experience in that.
Okay. And something that I've talked about, it's obviously a lot of the bigger companies, it would be Live Nation, MRG, any of these bigger companies, are kind of sweeping through the rooms, all the rooms right now, where they can try and book up the calendars for end of this year, early 2022. The up and coming artists are not going to have the same chances at those venues, because obviously a venue is going to go towards a show where they know they're going to make money, as opposed to taking a risk on a smaller show.
It depends on the owner, the booker, because I work with Dan Burke, and he's the type of booker that some people that made it very big right now, they pretty much owe it to him, because he would book them in the empty room and just keep booking until it finally caught up. If he believed it was good enough to do it. Some people didn't succeed, but some people made it.
But something that's being considered now is how many of those people like Dan are willing to take the risk once things are back rolling. And I think there is going to be some sort of live renaissance in which more people are going to go out, because it's that missing, the FOMO feeling of, okay, I want to go to a show, I want to go out, I want to be around people and interact with people and go see a band live. But how many of those bands at a smaller level are going to have to find alternative performance spaces or some other place to perform?
You're talking about bigger places like Opera House.
No, I'm talking more about even like clubs on a smaller scale, because
Okay.
like the agencies are going to come and book their like hot up and comers, the bands that will sell out at 300 to 500 cap venue, but not take the risk on the smaller bands.
There was always will be smaller clubs that will do that. I think Silver Doll, right, when this continues, we'll do like before, mixture of small shows and big shows, and then you book small band to open for bigger band and give them some exposure, right? So I think it's going to work the same way. It depends on really a club manager, club owner, with the direction they want to go to.
No, absolutely, because if the culture around the club is to support those bands, and the opportunities will be there, I just worry that there's not, because of all the clubs closing, because, and as you know, like, the smaller clubs, it's very hard to survive when they're at a certain size point, because either like, there's not enough people coming in, there's not, even when the show's sold out, you may still be not making as much because the guarantee is too high for whatever reason, or just, there's all these different factors that people, I think, are gonna change. And seeing what's happened with the industry, like, I'm sure both of us have experienced this, seen a lot of people we've worked with, friends of ours, peers of ours, that have gone out of the industry, and
Majority,
majority, and I'm just curious to see, because there's the people that I refer to as the cockroaches, not in a negative connotation, but the ones that the ones that no matter what bombshell is going to be dropped, they will always survive because they've cemented themselves in the industry for as long as they have. But this is kind of the time where people with the work ethic and the drive to find alternative methods to push themselves and push their brand and push who they are in the industry are trying to find ways to make themselves stay relevant until some sense of normalcy comes back.
I think it will be a mixture of these two things, right? The people will just play for sure, like let's book headstones. Of course, we're gonna fill up the room. Right? Let's book that level of bands, and there will be people like Dan, even Dan himself, he's still around. We'll just continue doing what they're doing all their life, you know. And the streaming part, I think it's good for the smaller bands because you might tune in to watch some
Insert band here.
certain band, and then you put one or two openers, while you're getting your beer, what is this guy? Too bad, right? So they might be open to bigger audience than ever.
Yeah,
Right?
that's definitely a positive idea, because the accessibility of shows has always been an interesting thing, because like you mentioned even before we started this, the bands people who don't go to certain shows or can't go to a show because it's in a different area, it's going to be interesting to see. A concept that I don't know if you guys thought about, and something that I've really been thinking about with the live streaming kind of stuff, is do you think that there could be an implementation factor of kind of a geo-lock of people from outside this area cannot buy tickets in order to not oversaturate themselves in different markets?
That's interesting.
Yeah, no, because obviously a big thing, and I'm sure you know this, when bands overplay a certain market, they obviously decrease their number of attendance. So, do you think that you guys could implement something like that where you expand the lot to like a Toronto area,
GTA.
like a GTA area, and that way, if they want to go play off in Hamilton or Western or Eastern Canada, they're not going to be oversaturating those markets?
I don't know what the legal aspect of that would be, right? But it's kind of an interesting idea.
Well, because when you think about like things like radius clauses and stuff like that, I definitely feel like that's going to be something that's going to be a digital radius clause where
Yes.
they're going to transfer over.
I think you're right. I never thought of that, but I think you're right.
I have a lot of time to sit at home and think about this kind of stuff because
We all do that.
not much going on. How do you think the city officials and the Toronto political figures have dealt with the live music crisis? Because when you look at other markets, especially internationally, like Germany and other European markets, the cultural support for live music is significantly different than it is for Canada. Because Canada, while it is only 3% of the music market, we've exported some of the biggest artists internationally. So what do you think, like, on both like a local, municipal level or provincial level and even the federal level, how the government's kind of responded to the crisis that's been happening in our industry?
They didn't do much. I mean, I don't know if they can do much, right?
Mm-hmm.
What could they do if there's no, you cannot be in a room with 6, 7 people. There's the band and and a technical crew and a bartender. You already maxed that.
Mm-hmm.
But I think in Toronto it's too much space given to developers.
Mm-hmm.
Like the old Silver Dollar is a heritage building.
Yeah.
It's a heritage club, right? It's like names that play there. It's your culture. Or let's go even back. What's really weird to me, coming from Europe, your club, like the Steppenwolf's coming from there, Johnny Mitchell, Neil Young, they'll be preserved in Europe. I think those clubs will be like, not necessarily the clubs, just the museum or something, or the plaque. This is the building. Here it's just somebody comes with the money, and everything is gone.
Yeah, I don't understand. That's the one thing I don't understand. It's the appreciation, obviously, for the artists, and they create these monuments or museums or some sort of tribute to them, but they don't treat the rooms kind of the same. In terms of, obviously, you have like Horseshoe, for example, which is a legacy, been around for 70 plus years. That's not going anywhere because that club.
You think? I think the next.
I don't know. I want to be an optimist and say no.
Yeah.
But the reality is we don't know because you never know where it's just going to get treasured.
Because they show up with enough money and the owner of the land of the building just goes, yeah, I'll take that money, That's what happened to Silver Dollar.
Mm-hmm.
I thought once we got, first developer came and they did proposal. And then we got the heritage status and everybody's like, we won. There's no way. They got around it. They built a condo with a club inside. They recreated the club. And now it's up for lease. The club is there. There's a condo building. The club is there. They took the original murals, the stage, the bar, they put everything back in. So it's a club on the ground level of the concrete. It's empty.
Yeah.
For me, I don't know what's gonna happen. Who's gonna lead that? It's gotta be live anyway, right? This
Yeah, and I think a lot of cities, even with the heritage status, yeah, it means something, but also means nothing when money comes into when money comes into it.
Get around it.
And I just don't know, because cities, they want cities to focus on residential and getting more people in, but something that Toronto is dealing with right now is so many people are leaving and coming to our neck of the woods. So moving to Oshawa, like I was telling Hayden on the way here, the amount of sold over asking, right? Not even just sold over asking, because the demand is insane right now. I'm just curious, because I don't know if that's going to halt development or hopefully reduce. I just don't know.
What you got left now in Toronto is police bars, horseshoe, it's all clubs gone.
All clubs gone.
I don't know, I can't remember. I can't count them on one hand. And when I came here, it was TVs all over the place, and every corner was a club. It was awesome. But now, after this, there'll be a few.
Do you think it's because over the years there's been a decrease of appreciation for the developing live scenes? Or do you think it's been more people focused rather on lack of arts and appreciation and more just on the economic income that could potentially come from a new development?
I think at that point, just before pandemic, maybe 10 years before pandemic, there was too many clubs. So the scene couldn't fill all these places with enough people, of course, because we had 70 shows a night. 40 people go to each, and that's it. Now it's going to be opposite. I think it's going to be very few clubs that will survive this, unfortunately.
But the clubs that
more concentrated.
Yeah, but the clubs that survive hopefully will get the traffic from the clubs that closed.
Hopefully, yeah, but as I said, it was too many. I know that was a problem just looking to bookers. Because like they would be looking from nowadays and Jesus, shows. What are they gonna do? So it goes to one extreme
To the next.
to the other one.
Yeah, and I think with the live stream, back to that, the live streaming is going to provide a bit more of a middle for that. But then comes the question once again, oversaturation of markets, because there was always a joke with some agents that I've talked to in Toronto, that the joke was you can't oversaturate Toronto because of how many clubs there are. But like you said, that could be the problem. There's too many.
It was a hyper
clubs.
production, yeah.
Yes.
Exactly. Live music, for sure.
For sure. Vlad, we were just talking in between the breaks there about just kind of having the time to reflect and take a pause and getting impatient after 3 months and wanting to.
3 months was really nice to have a break finally, because hours in this industry is
Ridiculous.
ridiculous. Yeah. I would like to have them back now.
That's the thing, you don't appreciate something until it's gone, right?
That's right, and that happened, I think, to the whole scene.
Yeah. Did you get jaded at all? I got jaded a bit.
Oh yeah. I was like, that band again. Not because the band is bad, because I was oversaturated with the work.
Yeah. You don't want to hear the same 8 songs.
Yeah, I used to do blues at the Silver Door. It was just pretty much, unless you get somebody from the Delta, it was kind of the same. I mean, they're all good. But, yeah, of course it changed it, big time. Took it for granted, took musicians for granted, music, everything, right?
When things get back into swing, is there going to be more of an appreciation, you think, from just everyone, from all different aspects of
I
it?
think at least for a couple of years, for sure.
For a couple of years,
Yeah.
and then it's going to go back to jaded.
You know how it is.
Of course. And then you're like, oh, where's that 3 month
Or
break?
maybe people will always remember this and go, I very appreciate this and very supportive.
Yeah, what you mentioned right as we were about to get started here, some of the stories that.
It can happen only live, right? It cannot happen while you're streaming a show, because everything streaming is everything. Exactly.
Yeah, you like the simplicity of broadcasting as opposed to dealing with the.
Absolutely, but technically, it's like mixing wise is much easier. It sounds good. And you happy in that sense, but then live is live. Live is like a mixture of theater and music, right? And then anything could happen. It just sounds different.
When do you think, if you had to take a guess, when do you think things are going to kind of get back into at least a somewhat sense of normalcy?
Do you have pressure from business community that want to open everything no matter what? So who survives, survives. And then you have pressure from the science and medicine. We cannot do this. And then there's the economic thing too, right? Like, is everybody sick? Who's going to work? So I see at least another year of this. Maybe
Before
I'm
we
wrong.
even come back into the clubs, or?
Yeah.
Wow.
Maybe I'm wrong. I hope.
I mean, that's the thing though, we don't know. We just don't know yet because, like you said, there's all this different pressure and all this different noise. Okay, we're coming out into the next zone. Okay, no way, we have to go back because now the numbers are spiking here. And just, it's a constant tightrope. We're constantly trying to find a balance, and they're rolling out the vaccines, and we don't know how long the vaccines are going to take, and if there's going to be an issue with the vaccines, delay in delivery. Like, there's so many aspects of this that's still unknown. And what were your thoughts on like the drive-in shows? What were your thoughts on
I've
that?
done a few.
You did a few. What'd you think about that on a production side?
Production is good because we're doing the regular PA.
Yeah.
And also we're doing the radio frequencies so you can crank it in
I was
yourself.
curious about how much of a difference is it between broadcast? Like, are you running two different boards, or is it just one board and you kind of
It's
just
one board, you just split the signal.
split the signal?
Yeah.
Is there any different processing or anything like that?
Yeah, for the radio, of course, even for the broadcast, it's going to be a little bit different than a PA,
Yeah.
but not much. Because they open the windows so they can still hear the PA,
Yeah.
and the radio is just filler pretty much.
I never got into those because I never gave a shot because I'm like, well, one, I have a shitty stereo in my car and I don't really want to listen to a show through my shitty ass stereo.
But also you open your windows and the PA
Yeah,
is full PA is blasting.
And that's the other thing.
But my first show and then the first band, the band stopped playing, everybody started honking, and I was laughing for like half an hour. I had that on video.
Flash their high beams.
Yeah, it's so funny. I mean, it's cool, right? It's funny, positive funny. It's not funny, stupid. But it's, I don't know, it's so different.
It's just hilarious to think that we've gotten to a point now where people
It's
are.
kind of ridiculous, yeah.
When you really think about it, it is kind of ridiculous because
Yeah.
people are applauding and clapping with their cars.
Yeah.
As opposed to, but you think people would just lean out the window and cheer, as opposed to.
They do.
Beep, 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 beep.
They do, but it's a mixture. But you know, it's like a, I don't know, Serbian wedding all of a sudden, like everybody on a horn, right? So it was so funny. I still watch that video that I made and still laugh.
Oh, sure. So Vlad, we're coming to the end of this. I want to thank you for taking the time to hang out
thank
and
you
chat with me
guys.
for a bit. What's next for you during this time of waiting and figuring shit out?
Do more streaming because apparently it's okay now. So I have a few shows hanging. Then start booking again. And once the equipment is back, we start streaming and see what happens.
See what happens. That's honestly the best summary you can give for this entire thing.
Try to survive this, right?
Yeah.
That's number one. I don't know. Nobody suspect it's going to go this long.
Well, remember when they said, "Oh, give it 2 weeks."
2 weeks, yeah.
Oh, wait, no, just give it another 2.
And I'm like, yeah, I can rest a little bit.
No, I get a nice, little 2-week break.
And here we are, a year. And,
Yeah, let's say about to come. We just passed a year of being in lockdown.
I often think about young bands like I was 16, 15 years old. What are they going to do? Huh? There's nothing.
I mean, that's the thing, because so many of these bands, especially in the rock genre, you know this. It's about getting on the road, grinding your teeth,
Yeah.
doing the 401 run. It's
Yes.
getting that practice, and now bands are, it's good because bands are focusing on online development, which I think is something huge that a lot of bands.
It can be enhancement for sure.
Yeah, exactly, and potentially reaching out to new markets, but it's that live aspect that they're missing.
Yeah, you need to go through that.
But you have to be at least a little excited to see some of the bands that are gonna come. I'm very curious about some of the bands that are gonna come out once we can start doing shows,
Yeah.
because I bet there's gonna be just
I think it's gonna be crazy for a couple of years. For sure.
oh, some of the bands. Vlad, where can people find you and what you do? Like on social media or anything like that?
Oh, they can find me on Facebook, my name, and also I have a music project called Scared Bunny.
That's
So
a great
that's my
name.
music, so people can go and see that. My phone is there, my email is there,
Yeah,
so you can reach me that way.
perfect. All right, that wraps up for another episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. I will see you guys, and well, this is actually the first of a bit of a long week, so you'll see me again real soon. All right, take it easy, guys. Peace. Cool. All right, that's it.
Thanks.
Thank you, Vlad.